evening to everybody. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. This is the beginning of the 2014-2015 calendar year for the OPMA, the Ottawa Product Management Association. And this is our kickoff meeting. I want to first of all introduce the agenda for this evening. We try and start our meetings exactly at 6:30, and we go through till about 8 o'clock. And at 8 o'clock we then do a workshop. So in the 6:30 to 8:30, we have a few announcements that we're going to be making. And so without any further ado, I'd like to pass this over to Fanny Rowe. Fanny?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here for our first OPMA session of 2015. We have a fantastic set of events lined up for the year. And hopefully, I'm really excited about today's session in general. And so today I'm pleased to welcome a very special guest from Stratford Managers. And so Doug, I had to look this up because Doug has done so much, and his resume is so prolific, so I had to look it up. But Doug is the head of sales and marketing practice and also the founding executive member of Stratford Managers Corporation. Doug has an entrepreneurial background that ranges from sales, marketing, operations, professional services, and all kinds of areas. So it's done it all, and very excited to have Doug here today, and thank you for making time. And so please now help me in welcoming Doug to the screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Fen. It's okay. I'm wired for sound. Thanks, Fanny. So the topic that I'm going to talk about is differentiation, and you might ask, well, what has that got to do with the first stage of the commercialization process, which is requirements planning and prioritization? And I put it to you that differentiation, product differentiation in the marketplace is actually the natural outcome of doing the right job up front on requirement setting and prioritization. So what I'm going to hopefully show you is the importance of the requirement setting in achieving a differentiated product. Now, Fanny was very kind to introduce me and to talk about my charts, and I think you'll find that my charts actually have almost no content in them. They're all pictures, so you actually have to listen to me, which is the only way I actually ever get anyone to listen to me, is by putting no content up there and pretending that it's all here. So without further ado, let me start. How are we doing there? All right, sorry about that. I can always yell. Mark said that he had no clue what riffing meant, which you're a former musician, aren't you? I would have thought, come on, it would be natural. So riffing is normally about jazz, but I'm not going to play any music here today. Good for you. But I will do a little bit of improvisation. So I'm not scripted, and it's just me up here. Hopefully I'll be energetic, and hopefully I won't be too comic, but maybe a little bit witty. So I'm hoping this will actually be a riff. In fact, what I want to do is share my experience. So I'm going to look back over my 25 years of being haunted by the question of differentiation as an engineer in a product development team, as a salesperson trying to sell products, some differentiated, some not differentiated, as a marketing manager trying to market products, some differentiated, some not differentiated, as a product manager, desperately trying to create differentiated products, and as a general manager, a P&L owner, whose business success depended on the success of the product in the marketplace. So all through my career, differentiation has been very important to me. And so throughout my career, I've wondered, who can I blame for a product that isn't differentiated? Now, as a marketing guy, I got blamed a lot for that. But I put it to you, and this is the challenge that I've set for myself over the course of this presentation, is to dump that squarely in your laps as product managers and say, all right, if it's someone that's responsible for product differentiation, it's the people in this room. And I'll include myself in that list. So by the end of this presentation, you either accept that as product managers, we're responsible for product differentiation, or we all start looking for a different job. Deal? Yeah. All right, let's give it a shot. So like any good presentation about products, we need to start with Apple, right? So, but it's timely because they just made a blockbuster announcement was it last week? Yeah, last week. And I figured, well, it's a good time to be talking about Apple. So the pictures that you see there, for those of you who don't remember, those are the iMacs. Now, who remembers who had an iMac? They're really sexy. They're all-in-one machines. These were introduced in 1998, if you want to feel old, right? So these were launched in 1998, about this time, maybe a little bit earlier in the year than this time. And they were really amazing all-in-one desktop computers that made really unique use of color and form. There had been nothing like it in the marketplace. And so consumers kind of reacted strongly to it, and people in the industry reacted strongly to the concept of the iMac. And in fact, there was one individual who happened to actually kind of own the personal computing market space at that time in 1998, Bill Gates, who actually said the one thing that Apple's providing now is leadership in colors. It won't take long for us to catch up with that, I don't think. The fighting words from Microsoft, right? So I'm pleased to report that very recently Microsoft has finally introduced a product that's an all-in-one computer that has a unique form factor and makes use of colors, and that's the Microsoft Surface. So it was probably 14 years it took them to catch up. I know, it's not really fair, and like slamming Microsoft isn't fair anymore, right? And I actually happen to like this product a lot. I'm a real fan of tablets and actually stylus tablets, so I'm not one to talk. But it does take it back to the important point, which Bill got wrong, which is differentiation actually isn't just about the color and the shape of the product. It's not about a form factor. It's about something deeper. So let's look at it a little bit more closely. I'm just going to try and turn this a bit so that I can see it. Oh, it's on wheels. Nice. So the iMac actually was a huge success for Apple. In fact, it was billed as the product that saved Apple. So we all have iPhones now and all the other cool stuff because the iMac was the product that kept Apple in the running. And it wasn't because of the form, and it wasn't because of the color. It was because there was something more important built into it. In fact, Apple didn't design this product. And actually, at the time, this was Johnny Ive's first big product with Apple. And of course, he's still there, and he's probably one of the main reasons they've been so successful. But what he said at the time was, our goal wasn't just to differentiate our product, but to create products that people would love. So as a product designer, effectively a product manager, he wasn't thinking, oh, I've got to create a differentiated product. He was thinking about the customer. And what does the customer want? And how do I create something that the customer is going to love? At the time, they really focused on not just the color and the shape of the product, but they focused on the out-of-box experience. They focused on simplicity. So it was 2 steps to get this product connected to the internet and ready to use. The advertising at the time, I think, said there is no step 3. That's how simple it was. So they were focusing on simplicity. And what Johnny Ive says is that differentiation was a consequence of their goal of making a product that customers love. And if you think about it, how do you make a product that customers love? Well, you focus on 2 things: customer value and user experience. These are fundamental attributes of the product. So now we're thinking as product managers, and we're saying, how are we going to create a product that's differentiated? Well, we actually don't worry about that. What we worry about is, how do I create a product that has real customer value? And when I say customer value, it's to the user, but remember that it's often, especially in B2B products, as an organizational buy. So I'm thinking about the customer experience for the user and for the company that's paying for the equipment. And then the user experience. What kind of experience is the customer having when they're using the product? If you focus on those two things and you manage your product so that you deliver customer value and a high quality user experience, the differentiation will come, because it's two simple points, but it's actually really hard to do. And that's why Mark and the OPMA is focusing us all on requirements now, because that's what guides that. Let me tell you a little personal story. How many of you recognize this product? Oh, wow, oh, look at that. That's wonderful. The reason I'm so happy is that this is my iMac, okay? This is my product. I had a 20-year career at Nortel, and I mentioned all the things that I had done at Nortel. The great thing about working at Nortel is if you were there long enough and you were successful enough, you actually got to drive a business unit. You actually got to be a general manager. It was fabulous training. So this was the product for the business unit that I was a general manager of. So for those of you that don't actually know what these little boxes are, let me be a little bit nostalgic for a minute here. So that gray box is a wireless base station. The companion product is a low-power, digital, wireless business communication system. It was the best of the world. You're stealing my thunder. So what you do is you take these base stations and you plaster them up on the ceilings or on the wall of your office, of your manufacturing plant, of your school, of your hospital, and you'd create a private in-building wireless network. And those phones were effectively like having your desk phone in your pocket. Seems like a brilliant idea. Everyone needs to move around. They don't want to miss calls at the time. And people can make and receive calls in the workplace. Now, it seems like kind of a meh idea now, because we're all, I better not do this. We're all walking around with these in our pockets, right? You kind of say, well, why do I want an in-building wireless communication systems when I get too many calls on my darn smartphone already? Well, this was in 1992. This was 22 years ago, for God's sakes. Do you know what cellular was like 22 years ago? It was all analog. Yeah. If you had a portable device, it was a brick. It was analog. You paid a lot on a per call or per minute basis. If you could get coverage in building, most of the time you couldn't get coverage in the building. And oh, by the way, it wasn't secure because it was analog. And it had no integration at all with the telephone system, your business telephone system, where you took most of your work calls. So there seemed to be this huge opportunity for us to take this cool new technology and launch a product that would take the market by storm. Everyone would be using these things at work, and who knows, maybe we could create little systems for the home too, and you could have a little companion system at home. I was dreaming big at the time. So over the course of the subsequent 10 years, this product was modestly successful. And you know you've been in business too long when the products that you came up with and you took to market have been manufactured discontinued. So this one's been manufactured MD'd for a long time. So why aren't there companion systems everywhere anymore? Well, it's because cellular actually caught up, didn't it? And what I realize now, looking back, is, well, I thought this product was differentiated. Sexy little digital telephones that you could use securely in your workplace with a dedicated network for your workplace. What I realized is we missed on two counts. Customer value. What do people want with a portable phone? They want to be able to use it everywhere. And not just the workplace. They want to be able to go out and use it in their car. They want to be able to use it in the public. They want to be able to use it at home, right? We take that for granted. But at the time, we thought people will want to use this just in the workplace. So we missed on the customer value side of things. The second one is user experience. This device stayed in the workplace. It was your work phone. It wasn't your personal device that became part of you and part of your lifestyle. Now we're all talking about BYOD, bring your own device into work, and it's like, makes sense. Well, we missed that one. So what on the surface takes great advantage of new technology, seems like a great product, ended up not being differentiated on the core values of mobility, seamless mobility, and a single device. So that was a lesson in differentiation for me. Maybe a little bit of an expensive lesson, but a lesson nonetheless. So we talked about products that enable you to move around. Let's talk about products that allow you to go up and down. Okay? So we have 3 products that let you go up and down. We have stairs, we have elevators, and we have escalators. And unlike Companion, which doesn't exist anymore because it's all cellular today, we actually see stairs, elevators, and escalators all around us. Stairs, they've been around since the beginning of people building things, right? Pyramids got stairs. Stairs everywhere. What's great about stairs? Well, let's talk about what we don't like about stairs first. How many people liked climbing 3 flights of stairs to get to this theater? Not so much. So there's effort involved. If you're carrying something, it's a real pain. If you got bad knees, it sucks as well, right? So they're hard to use. Stairs, well, they're not hard to use unless you've been drinking too much, but they're effort, okay? They really can't elevate you too much, right? 2 floors, maybe 3, and then you're kind of done with this stair stuff, right? You don't care so much. You don't like it. The good news, though, is that they're always available. If there are stairs and you need to go up, the stairs are there, you can take them, right? And that's good. We don't have to wait. And the last thing is they're cheap. That's why they're all over the place. You got stairs in your house because they're cheap. Otherwise, you'd have an elevator, right? Well, let's talk about elevators. Who invented the elevator? Anyone know? No. That's a myth. Archimedes invented the elevator in BC 236. If anyone ever asks you who invented something, say Archimedes. No one can argue with you. It's true, though. It's true. Archimedes, I mean, there wasn't a motor and everything, so you had slaves pulling it or something, but it was an elevator. It was the first passenger elevator was in the Equitable Life Building of New York City. It was installed in 1870. It's not that long ago, eh? So that was the first passenger elevator. What's good about elevators? Easy to use. Just press a button. You don't have to walk. It's really easy to use. We love elevators. And we love them especially because they'll take us up real high. Tallest building in the world? Got an elevator, right? So this is looking good. You can fill the elevator full of stuff and it'll go up, right? It's easy to use. The problem is you got to wait for it, right? If it's not there open, you press the button and you're waiting. There's a big psychological cost as a user. Talk about user experience. Big psychological problem with an elevator because I'm waiting all the time. That's why they have mirrors in lobbies, right? By the way, I'm stealing a bunch of Seth Godin stories here, so sue me. The other thing is they're costly, right? If you put an elevator in a building, it costs a lot. All right, so stairs, elevators. Let's talk about escalators. I love escalators. Escalators, easy to use, right? Just stand there and they take you where you want to go. Now, they don't go that high either. They can go about the same as stairs, maybe a little bit farther. So they're not that great on the elevation piece, but they're always available. As long as they're not broken, they're always available, which is a plus. But they're costly. I don't know whether elevators cost more to, or escalators cost more to make than elevators and more to maintain than elevators. I'm not really sure. I suspect they don't, but they're more costly than stairs. So laying it out, we've got multiple sets of requirements here. And you'll see that each one of these products satisfies those requirements in a different way. You have a different combination. And each one is satisfying the customer value going up and the user experience. Do I have to work? Do I have to wait? In a different way. That's good product management. That's why they're all still around. That's why people who build stairs make money. That's why people who build elevators make money, including Otis, the Otis family. And that's why people who make escalators make money. And that's why they're still around. Unlike my companion product, which is in the dump heap of history. Okay, last product story. Sugar. Redpath sugar. When I was in MBA school, I did a strategy study for Redpath sugar. It's actually a very cool business. What they do is they take sugar beets and sugar cane and they process it and they make sweet white crystals. Sweet white crystals. And their sweet white crystals are exactly the same as everyone else's sweet white crystals. Try saying that 10 times fast. When you go sugar shopping, because I know all of you have a sweet tooth, when you go sugar shopping, how many of you look for your favorite brand of sugar? No, it's a commodity, right? Now that hasn't prevented enterprising marketers and product managers from trying to differentiate this product. You see in the background there all the different ways we try and differentiate products. So we take our sweet white crystals and actually we don't process it as much, and what do you get? You get brown sugar. If you compress it into cubes, you get sugar cubes, different packaging. If you really process it a lot and grind it, you get fine sugar. If you put it in boxes with spouts, you get coffee service sugar. But it's still sugar. And so companies like Redpath Sugar, successful companies like Redpath Sugar, and the product managers at companies like that realize that success isn't actually about differentiating their products because they have a commodity product. They focus on other things. What do they focus on? Yeah, my sugar's sweeter than yours. Yeah, so they do spend a little bit of money on packaging, right? But no one won in the sugar game because of packaging. They actually spend it on the channels, so control the supply chain, both the supply chain and the distribution chain. So operations. Am I sourcing the raw materials most cost effectively? Are my processing plants located in the right place given where they grow sugar beets and sugar cane? Is my manufacturing process highly efficient? Am I reducing my waste? Am I conserving energy? Manufacturing stuff, operation stuff. And so if you're a product manager for Redpath Sugar, you're not spending your time trying to differentiate your product. You're spending your time trying to reduce the cost of producing your product because that's the thing that will make your company successful. So the question for everyone in this room, okay, I don't think there are any sugar product managers in this room, but the question for all of us as product managers is the product that we are managing a commodity? You got to kind of face facts. If it is, then your job is to do one thing. If it isn't a commodity, then your job is to do another. Okay? So if your product is sugar, please promise me, if your product's a commodity, please promise me you're not going to go to your marketing person, your marcoms person, right, and say, I need a marketing campaign that explains my differentiated value proposition. Okay? Because it's sugar. There is no differentiated value proposition. It's sweet, like everyone else's sugar. 20 years in marketing and product, well, in marketing. And every company that I worked for, they reached a time when revenues weren't growing quite fast enough. We were losing business to the competitors. People were getting frustrated. And some sales executive would sit across from me at a meeting and pound the table and said, our problem is we don't have a differentiated value proposition. As if I could, as a marketing person, just kind of pull it out of my hat. Oh yeah, I'm just kidding. We actually have a differentiated value proposition, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, right? No. It doesn't matter how big your marketing budget is. It doesn't matter how creative your marketing people are. If the value, differentiated value, isn't built into the product already, if the work wasn't done by the product management team and the design team, it doesn't matter how good your marketing team is. You're not going to get a differentiated value proposition. Sure, there are some nincompoops in marketing that don't understand the product, they can't communicate it, and they could be better at it. But the bottom line is, if it hasn't been built into the product already, if you haven't created a product that has strong customer value and a strong user experience, the marketing people aren't going to do it. Or, the moral of the story is, you can't put lipstick on a pig, right? Marketing people can't do that. So it's the product manager who brings home the bacon, right? The product manager is the one that puts the bacon on the frying pan. The marketing people, the sales people, they can only make it sizzle. But if the bacon isn't there, all right, enough pig jokes. All right. So this is your friend, your lead customer. So you're all product managers in here, right? How many of you are managing an existing product line, portfolio that exists today? Yeah, most of us do, right? Most of us as product managers, it's not like we get to create something from new. Normally we're managing, you know, we're the sponsors. We're managing a product line that already exists, which means we probably have existing customers. And so when it comes time to figure out what we're going to do with that product, the first thing we do, naturally, is we go back to our existing customers. We ask for their requirements. We ask them about their experience, and we use that as input into the product evolution process. That's the collection of product requirements. But you got to be careful, because what existing customers will tell you is not what the market needs. They'll tell you what they need. They'll tell you exactly what they think they need, right? You'll have some person who's responsible for working with the manufacturer tell you what they think they need. So if you listen slavishly to your existing customers, over time, you will continually refine your product to the point that it suits them perfectly. But it may miss the mark for the rest of the market that you're trying to address. So there's a very important balance you need to make there between listening to your existing customers and using them as a source of information to drive your product evolution, and not falling into the trap of refining your product to the point where it only works for one customer. In fact, taking that to its logical conclusion, let's talk about the mythical lead customer. When I was managing the companion product, our lead customer was Home Depot. Man, when we sold Home Depot, did we feel good. We're going to roll out companion over hundreds and hundreds of Home Depot stores. It was awesome. What a market validation for our product. It's true. It was great. Business started to take off. The problem is, we ran into guys like this who said, if you want to keep our business, you're going to make a phone that never breaks, even though their definition of call transfer was rolling the phone down the aisle of Home Depot. True story. True story. An inordinate amount of my R&D budget went towards satisfying the requirements of this one big but demanding customer. And as a result, I was unable to develop a wide variety of features that might have opened up new markets for me, new international markets, new vertical market applications. And I've seen this time and again. That was my experience at at Nortel with Companion. Is there anyone here from Mitel? Mitel's, I used to work at Mitel, so I'm not telling stories out of school. Well, kind of. Mitel's unified communications, or unified messaging portfolio, voicemail portfolio. Lead customer, Deloitte. When Deloitte said, we want this feature, actually it wasn't Deloitte that said that, it was one or two IT managers at Deloitte were like this, saying, we want this. When they said, we want this, we had to direct the R&D budget to do that. And as a result, we weren't able to invest in a whole range of features that might have been addressing a different market. So that's the big caution with listening to existing customers and listening to a lead customer, becoming a slave, suffering from the tyranny of the lead customer. Now, okay, if you have an existing portfolio, at least you have something to go on, right? You're collecting customer input, and you can decide whether you keep it or not. What about those of us who are trying to come up with a new product? Who do we talk to? Well, Steve Jobs was pretty clear about it. If you talk to customers, by the time they give you feedback and you've built the product, they're going to want something else, right? So you can't innovate fast enough. And besides, most of the time when you ask a customer what they want, they actually don't know. The best way is to put something in front of them and get a reaction. Put something out in the marketplace and get a reaction. So as a product manager, if you're doing your homework correctly and you've done your market scanning and your requirements setting well enough, you will have a broader, more comprehensive view of market requirements and customer requirements than a customer might, and you will know the potential of the technologies that you're using. So it can actually come from you. For the new products, you actually have to be out ahead of the customer. And that's one of the lessons that Steve Jobs, I think, has taught us. How often do you go to an OPMA presentation where we talk about a French philosopher from the Middle Ages? Huh? You said you weren't going to get an education? All right. So many of you have probably seen the Mark Twain quote there, right? Netting it out. I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. Anyone who writes blog posts? Heather's nodding her head, yeah. Anyone who writes blog posts knows that writing an 800-word or 1,000-word blog post or article is actually pretty easy. Cutting it down to 400 words that has real impact is really hard. It takes a lot of effort. Well, products aren't that much different than when you write an article or a blog post, right? The essence of the product is actually in its simplicity. When you nail that customer value and that user experience, what you actually have is a simple product. You don't have all the elaboration, the extra adjectives, the sentences that you don't really need, all that flowery language. You've cut that all away and pared it down to the core value of the product, because that's what's going to differentiate you. The challenge for product managers, the challenge for everyone in this room, is that the pressure on you is exactly the opposite. You've got salespeople, you've got customers, those mean existing customers, you've got executives, all telling you to add features, right? Well, we need more features because the competition has it, because this customer wants it. You've got to make the product more flexible so it will work in not just this vertical market, but this other vertical market. Your job as a product manager is actually to push back on that and not lose sight of the fact that the core value of the product is its strength, and all the other stuff is elaboration. And there are a bunch of ways you can do it, right? You can build a capability into the product so that it can be customized by the customer. Everyone knows what APIs are, for example. They allow customers to customize a product, a nice simple product. Or you can do what Apple does and create an ecosystem that allows other customers to create applications to add value on top of the Apple platform. Just one note there, you have to be careful that you control the platform so that as the value is delivered in the applications, the price and the margin doesn't transition to the applications away from your platform as well. So you have to be careful there. But simplicity is good. And your job is actually not to decide which features go in, ironically. Your job is to decide which features don't go in. So the best way to respond to Steve Jobs' point about the customer doesn't know what he wants, you've got to put it in front of them and show them, and to respond to this huge demand for adding features, take a little longer, add a few features, is what Mark talked about earlier, is lean innovation. And so lean innovation is really kind of the umbrella that includes agile development. And the idea there is identify the core value, create a product, very simple product, get it out there in the marketplace, get feedback, and then be prepared to rev it very quickly. As Mark said earlier, the whole purpose of version 1 of your product is to get feedback so you can get version 2 out as quickly as possible. Shortening that product development life cycle enables you to define a very tight, simple, differentiated product and avoids the problem of people continuing to add features. You always have an escape hatch. Well, we're doing another release in the future. Well, you know, it's going to happen fast. But it gives you the opportunity to test the core value quickly. So I highly recommend this approach as a way of addressing that challenge for product managers. So it's pretty daunting what I've put in front of you, right? So as a product manager, you've got customers that you can't listen to because they're going to tell you things that aren't good for you, they're good for them. You got to push back on everyone in the company when they want to add features and add complexity to the product. How are you going to keep your job, right? It sounds like an impossible task, and it is hard. But I've got some good news for you. I've got a silver lining for you. And that silver lining is being differentiated doesn't necessarily mean that you're unique. You don't need to be the best. You just need to be better. Let me tell you a story that illustrates it, and it'll explain the picture as well. Let's say Mark and I go camping, right? Mark's a bit of an outdoorsman. I'm a bit of an outdoorsman. We like to go camping. So we go out camping. We're out in the middle of, let's say, Algonquin Park. We've got the campsite set up, the tent's up, the bacon's on the skillet. Mark brought the bacon and I'm sizzling it, right? And all of a sudden, Mark looks up and he sees this big, hungry bear coming into the campsite. That bear's moving fast. And Mark's like panicking. Mark does not like bears, okay? Who likes bears? Mark doesn't like bears. He's getting pretty scared. And he looks over to me, and here I am, fishing my running shoes out of my backpack. I'm starting to put them on. I'm carefully tying the laces. And he's pulling out his hair. He's saying, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy? There's a bear coming into camp and you're putting on your running shoes? Are you stupid? Don't you know you can't outrun a bear?" As I finish lacing my running shoes, I look at Mark and I say, "Mark, I don't need to outrun the bear. I just need to outrun you." And that's our challenge as product managers. We don't need to outrun the bear. We just have to outrun the other people in the marketplace. And not even all of them, just a few of them, so that we get our share of the market. So differentiation doesn't mean being unique. Wonderful if you're unique and you invent the iPhone and everyone loves you. But you don't need to do that. You just need to be better than some of the other guys. So you have to be better at that outcome of differentiation, understanding customer value and delivering customer experience. So let me kind of wrap it up because I've ambled like a bear in the woods all through all sorts of things here. But let me try and summarize it for you into 7 simple tips, 7 morals of the story. So the first one, which I can hardly read, differentiation isn't so much a goal as an outcome of customer-driven design. And customer-driven design, with all the cautions that we've already said, is about taking the requirements and successfully building them into a product. Tip number 2, not all competitive advantage is based on product differentiation. If your product is a commodity, if you're the product manager of sugar, right, focus on cost, on operational excellence, on customer service. Recognize that you're not going to win through differentiation. Differentiation isn't always the answer. Number 3, it's not the product marketing person's job, it's not the product marketer's job or the Marcoms people's job to differentiate the product. The product manager is responsible for product differentiation and for the differentiated value proposition. Pin a little sign on your chest that says, ask me about the differentiated value proposition, because it's your job. Number 4, gather market requirements. Absolutely. Ask customers, do focus groups. Gather market requirements to evolve existing products, but beware of falling into that whirlpool of designing just for those existing customers or for just the lead customer rather than a market. Number 5, no, customers don't really know what they want. They think they know what they want. They don't always know what they want. They react to ideas very well, but they rarely come up with them. You will never innovate asking the customer what they want. You'll satisfy, but you won't innovate. Innovate has to come from you and the market scanning that you do and the technology understanding that you have. Number 6, lean innovation and agile design accelerates the customer feedback cycle, making it a viable way to innovate and differentiate. So it gets you ahead of that delay curve in getting customer feedback. And number 7, don't obsess about being unique. You don't need to outrun the bear. Differentiated means being better, faster than the bear, or faster than Mark, not faster than the bear, not the best. This one's going to go down in history. Mark's going to lose. Why are you lacing on running shoes there? So I started out the presentation, and I've had a few things about Apple in the presentation, so I should finish with a little bit of an Apple finish here. So one more thing. I even wore my turtleneck today, although it's not black, right? So one more thing. It's your job to develop products that capture customer value, that deliver an outstanding user experience. And if you do that, you will create differentiated products. And it's your job. So when we all leave this room, we're all going to remember that. That's the way we're going to be different. Because none of us aspires to simply be a parody of someone else's great ideas, right? So feature parody is actually feature parity. My name's Doug Michaelides. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Stratford Managers. Stratford Managers is an Ottawa-based management consulting firm. Been in business for about 5 years. We work with tech companies. We work with non-tech companies. We work with not-for-profit organizations. This presentation was based on a blog that I wrote probably maybe a month ago, Mark, called Differentiation According to Johnny Ive, which was actually inspired by a book I read about Johnny Ive. And I worked really hard to get that blog down to 400 words, let me tell you. So I would be delighted if you took a look at our blog, if you subscribed to it, or if you followed us on Twitter. It would be a great way for us to keep in touch. And I'd be happy to answer any questions right now as well. Thank you.
Thanks very, very, very much, Doug. And thanks, Fanny, for the intros and such. Before we leave, I just want to mention I think the next event is October the 20th? October the 20th on competitive intelligence. Okay, very good. Thanks.
Thank you.